Okay, so let's just try some stretching. Just up and down, just to iron out the spine. And then just a few one at a time. And a few forwards. One hand forwards, the other elbow back. And then twisting pull one hand behind. So you've got one hand right behind the back, and then the other hand on the opposite knee, pulling yourself round. Let the head go further. And just breathe in it. And then swapping round. And then the other side again. And then one more the other side. And then let's just sit for a minute or so with the hands behind. So this is generally the part of the spine that needs to come in, push forwards in order to keep the thymus active. And then back to prayer for a moment. So the hands are touching each other. So the quality of touch, nothing careless about it. You're feeling. And then just separate the hands. And then just come forwards and place the hands on the floor. And again, just feeling the quality of the touch. How does it feel? It's cool. It's hard. It's probably textured. And your awareness can bring those qualities through the hands and up the arms and into the spine, down to the sacrum, up to the head. And then back up into prayer for a sec. Again, just feeling that, the magic of the touch. And the touch, it varies depending upon how much pressure you apply. You can have the lightest of touches, which feels really delicate, and then a touch where each hand sort of melts into the other. So they affect the heart differently. And now you've got the stick there, just reach forwards for the stick or wherever it is. But again, as you pick it up, just feel it. So just acknowledge the touch. And then just playing with it, just teasing it, pulling it, twisting it. And then just changing into a push, but gentle. So ostensibly you're playing with the stick, but really it's the two hands playing with each other. So you're getting that play, that movement right into the body, into the spine particularly. Sense that the work that you're doing, sort of softening the stick. In Qigong in China, they're big into bending spoons, a la Uri Geller. Just imagine you're sort of softening the stick and it could actually bend. Feel the activity inside your body, focusing or gathering at the dantian, not the dantian, the thymus. So your dantian all the time is reaching down to the ground. It's sort of, that's the place it's connecting to. Whereas here, because I'm using my arms and they're very much connected to the heart, I'm getting movement into my sternum. Waking the sternum up, waking up the thymus. And then when we stand, it's the same sort of thing with the feet on the ground and the sacrum. So when we're standing in riding horse, just a sort of gentle play between the feet to activate the sacrum. Okay, so let's put the stick down. Just bring it to prayer again. And you can do the same thing here. It's this sense that the two hands are twisting, pushing in, pulling out of each other. And that's bringing movement into the thymus and the jaw. It's like your jaw's wanting to sort of slip side to side. Everything's loosening up from the heart upwards. Okay, so let's stand up. Riding horse. Feeling that play between the feet, bringing some activity into the sacrum. And coming back to gravity, feeling this flow down the body. So let's just try this qigong just to establish that. That's something washing through the body, down the legs, splitting at the sacrum. Feel the emotional shift that goes on. So to get my hands to come up, I have to brighten, become optimistic and cheerful. And then I can just let gravity pull them down. So this is like a more passive mode as I allow the hands to be pulled down. But now I have to become active to bring them up. Feel the activity, feel the spirit that sparks the movement. Something has to happen internally so that I can get the feeling that the hands are being drawn up despite me. So something in me lightens, and then the hands can float up as long as I can keep that cheerfulness. And then I just make it change. I just draw that cheerfulness in and allow gravity to pull it down. So to work on gravity, I really have to work on the levity as well. It's breathing. So this is like breathing in. And then this is just deflating, breathing out. It's my spirit that allows the hands to float upwards. And then it's like I turn the spirit off and they will sink back down again. And then just bringing it into riding force. Feeling a gentle play between the feet to get a little bit of activity into the sacrum. And the same thing here, it's almost like there's a play between the hands, just getting some activity into the sternum. And then the sternum and the sacrum just have to be correctly aligned so that I don't have any sense of the sternum becoming heavy. It feels like the sacrum is underneath the sternum. Maybe it's not quite, but that's the feeling. The lift is it's there all the time, the possibility of that lift, in the same way that the possibility of the sacrum pulling down or dropping is always there. Gravity is always operating upon my sacrum, and the heavens are always operating upon my sternum, my thymus. And then that image of having come out of the shower, you've just had a hot shower, you're standing there in riding horse, naked, as is our wont. So the water is trickling down the body, pooling on the floor, and the steam is rising up from my body towards the ceiling. So this is a powerful image. So the water trickling down is the gravity, and the steam rising is the levity. So the Chinese character for qi is just a cooking pot of rice with steam rising from it. So it's like a vapor, but the vapor is rising. So this sense of there being like an anti-gravity force that operates on things that don't have that much mass. So spirit and like hot air, steam being drawn up. And to connect with that is all I have to do is become cheerful. It's an act of spirit. So when there's no spirit, then really you only have gravity. So I can come up, but I have to use gravity to push against the ground to get my body to come upwards. What we want to feel is there's this force all the time drawing us upwards, calling us, like the call. Like they say in the Catholic Church, God is always calling you to prayer. So when you decide to pray, it's not you making this decision to pray, it's you waking up to the call. So it's just awareness, awakeness. I'm awake to my physicality, which is operated upon by gravity, but I'm also awake to my spirituality, which is operated on by the draw of the heavens. So in the same way that my body is wanting to become one with the earth, so my spirit is wanting to become one with whatever it is that's beyond the earth. So sinking. Feel the real importance of just releasing across the sacrum. It's like the two bones here almost feel as though they have to separate a little bit. And then I can just get so much better into the ground rather than simply on it. But also, as this pings open, so does this. So to properly bring my spirit up effortlessly requires a lot of effort down in the lower body because I have to open up to the ground. And this is difficult, as we know. And it's not obvious. I mean, most people, just wouldn't occur to them. It's something that only comes to you when you do work. So, laborers, do a hard day's work and then they get home, have their bath and their meal, and then they're just blasted. But it's like a really nourishing tiredness because it's opened them up and they're being operated upon now by energies from the spiritual and spirit realm. And now just moving side to side. So I straighten one leg and then I bend it. So when one leg is straight and the other one is bent, effectively I have bow and arrow posture, the bent leg being the bow and the straight leg being the arrow. What I'm trying to do is move without seizing up across the sacrum. So the two legs sort of remain a little bit independent of each other. Pull with this leg, then almost immediately this leg starts pushing. Feel the straightening leg. Those two aspects of the straightening, it straightens and reaches, but it also straightens and drives me in this direction and down into this foot. So one, the reaching out, that's levity. There's a lightness, there's an expansion. And the aspect of the straightening that's driving me into the supporting leg is gravity. So they're both there all the time. When we're moving, we just want to make sure they remain clearly distinguished, so it doesn't become a muddy system. So the Chinese have two words, qing and jing. Calm and clear. So the calmness is just the quietness inside. And this sense that I'm equilibrating all the way through. I've always got my balance. And clear in the sense that the full and the empty are always clearly distinguished. So the component parts are separate enough for them to work slightly independently of each other. It's what I call an ecosystem of all these species of energy. As opposed to an ego system, which is one dominant, controlling force that all the other ones have to be subservient to. That's what we're trying to get away from. In a martial sense, because it's incredibly slow, the ego is slow to respond. And in a spiritual sense, because when you've got a dominant ego, it just hides everything else. Everything else is either obliterated or hidden. I remember seeing like a nature program on the TV, and they were sort of tramping through the rainforest in the Amazon, I think it was, and it had been raining, and so it was all sloshy. And at one point, the guy, he just took a little glass bottle, just a little one, you know, ones with the stopper on, and bent down, and where he'd had his foot, it was slowly filling with water from all the rain that had fallen. He just took this little bottleful, pulled it up, and just with his naked eye, he identified over 40 different species of creepy crawly swimming around in this water. So incredibly rich. This is how the world should be, and it's been, of course, taken over and dominated by human beings. But it's the same inside ourselves. There's all these different aspects of energy, all these different creatures inside us. And a dominant ego will just crush them. Smother them. Feel the two legs. The straightening one has got a sense of moving in that direction. So the spirit is extending the leg. So the spirit has got a sense of moving that direction. But my body, of course, is being moved in this direction and down. Trying to stay loose across the sacrum. If you can get it loose there, then the joints, particularly the hips, will also remain loose. And then feeling the return. So my body is being driven down here. So I have to stay released across here so that this leg can actually support and this leg can actually be active. Now I want to feel the reach because I want to feel the return. So, but the return doesn't happen because I've grabbed like this. I'm not grabbing a rope like this. I'm extending and pushing from behind. This is the sense. So I've opened up here and it's like the foot has reached out and it's pushing the ground this way in order to draw me that way into it. And that happens because I've released in the hips and the sacrum. So whoa, something opens up, but it opens up into like a claw, into a scoop, because it's opening up from the back. And the back is always wanting to come around. It's curving around to my front. I release the sacrum, I release the hip, I release the knee, I release the ankle, and then also the toes. We got into this with John largely to activate the guardian, this sort of energy mass behind us, because this is the sort of shape of the guardian. It's like this sort of large spider with these long, spindly tentacles or legs. So let's feeling that you've woken up, you're teeming with movement, with energy, with chi. And now, using the legs to turn, straighten the leg and bend. And now let's try using the same leg, but now it's a front leg. Bend, straighten. Just how relaxed can I stay across the sacrum? When you're relaxed across the sacrum, then the two legs can become complete opposites of each other. This one is totally supportive and this one is totally straightening. If there's tightness here, then they'll sort of merge at that point. So I have to relax so that I can fall into this leg and so that the spirit can really express in the straightening leg. Same thing here. In a way, it's easier to feel here because you can get 100% in the back leg. And now let's twist the foot. Here, I just pivot on the front heel, like I'm in lifting hands in the form. And then I turn it back. And then as I straighten the leg here, I just let the heel back a little bit so that I can get the leg as straight as possible. When you feel it in the calf, like the calf is really tight, that's a sign that you've got it pretty much as straight as you can. And then drawing it back, heel comes back, and now the toes come round. And then the toes come back, and then the heel goes back. And I can just get lower and feel more activity in the back leg. basically single width. Becoming lifting hands. And now let's try it with the other foot. So straightening the left leg. Bending and straightening again, but now it's the back leg and the heel slips back. Bending, bringing the heel in, straightening, sending the toes out. Releasing in this hip so that this knee doesn't pull in. Pulling with the leg, bringing the toes in, straightening the leg, letting the heel slip back. Bending the leg, bringing the heel in, straightening the leg, letting the toes out. Okay, good. Feel that gentle play with the feet. So as well as feeling gravity as this flow down through the body, we can feel it as something that's reaching up the legs, like an ivy that's twining around the legs and trying to drag you down. It's the sense that this sort of something has crept up my legs. It never really gets higher than the dantian. So my legs are being captured and pulled down into the ground. And that, in a sense, allows this to open up and reach upwards. Not only do I have the support of the ground, I've become the ground because it's reached up me. So, we have this sense that the ground actually is here, and my legs are my two big roots that are actually in the ground. So my roots are extending, growing down and out, but also the ground is growing up into here. turning again, straight bend, straight bend. So just getting a rhythm and just using it to knock the Dan Chen and the Ming Men. Legs straighten, so do the arms. Legs bend, so do the arms. When we pull with the leg, it's got this real elastic pull back quality. And it's the same here in the arms. The arms spring back in order to strike yourself. Okay. Gravity and levity. The spirit is expressed in the eyes. When I look down, I'm with the gravity. I will tend to sink. When I look up, I'm with the levity and my spirits will lift. And now let's just step with it. So I straighten the leg. I bend the leg. I straighten the leg. I bend the leg. So I straighten the leg, and now I'm really focusing on pushing myself into this leg. Because then if I'm in the leg, in the ground underneath the leg, then this will pop up relatively simply. And then I send this foot out, straighten the leg again, bend it, straighten this leg to drive me completely into this leg so that I can step. Straighten the leg, bend the leg, straighten this one. So I drive down, and then this foot can come up. I want to feel psychologically what it's like to be in the ground rather than simply on top of it. Pull and squeeze. And then we want to look at the leg that goes out. So if I'm extending my leg out here, then effectively my center of gravity is shifting in my body because some of my body mass is moving in that direction. So to stay properly balanced, as I send my leg out this way, I'm having to move slightly in this direction. So we just want to feel that. So I'm having to move here, and then I can put the foot down and draw myself. Otherwise, there's always a sense that you're falling into the foot as it hits the ground. The leg goes out, but I'm, if anything, moving in this direction. And then I can start moving. I start moving when I decide to move, not when I start falling. Okay, let's just give it a rest. So when we step with the leg, when we extend the leg, straighten the leg in order to put it on the ground and then move into it, again, we're sort of really looking at the structure of that action. So let's try it again now. So I'm straightening this leg, that's driving me down into this leg. In order for this one to be properly free, so it can come up and loosely just extend out, I have to be really supported in this leg. So as I'm straightening this leg, what I want to feel, I'm not simply filling the leg there's a sense that my outside edge, which continues as a circle, if you like, around the inside, that opens up. The pressure that I'm putting this leg under from this leg straightening opens up like a hole here so that I can feel as though I've gone into the ground. And then when I step, I send the foot out. So I am moving in this direction a little bit. And then to get the foot on the ground, I have to sink. Yeah, so it's really difficult. This was something that John was really big into. So I have to straighten this leg. This opens up here so that I can get a sense of flowing down into the ground. And then when I extend this foot out, I have to get my center of gravity just shifting very slightly in this direction. And then I just sink to bring the foot down. And then I can start straightening this leg to get into this one. So sense that there's like a hole opened up. And if I don't get that, then I'll always be on top of the leg. I'll be sort of balancing here, or at the most on the ground. I want the feeling that I've got into it. The ground has opened up and swallowed me, embraced me. Something down there, I've got right down. And then I step out. And now here I have to sink to get that foot on the ground. And then I start pulling with this one. So we have to sink to get the foot to go down so that we get this feeling of scooping. If I just put the foot down, I then have to start the scooping afresh. I get the foot down and then I scoop. What I want the feeling of is that the leg has actually extended into a scoop by actually sinking more into the supporting leg. And it's incredibly difficult. So here I'm down in the ground. And then this goes out. And now I have to sink to get that foot down. And then that sinking is enough to start pulling with the foot. So in a sense, it's like, by sinking to get the foot down, I can keep the leg relaxed or relaxing. I can keep this sense that the leg is extending, extending, extending. And then that extension just becomes the drag back, becomes the scoop. So I push down here, it opens up. This foot comes up. And now I extend this foot out. And then I sink. And you feel it as soon as the foot hits the ground. If it hits the ground in a relaxed way, it will just draw the ground towards it. It wants to connect. The feet want to connect with the ground and sink down into it. So I extend and I soften. And that takes me down. And then I pull into it. Push. So in order to sink, in order to put the foot down, I have to keep moving in this direction. I have to keep sinking down the outside edge. So here I'm flowing down the outside edge into the ground. And now I just sink down it even more. And it gets the foot down straight, bent, straight, sink, and bend this one. That's really difficult. I remember when John showed it to us once, very early on, probably doing the long form. And of course, we didn't know what on earth he was talking about. But let's just try a little bit with the wall. Trees, especially, but also walls, they can help the gravity and the levity. So I just get close to a wall, so it's arm's length away. And then I just fall onto it. I let my heels come up and I just relax the knees forwards. I want the sense that the presence of the wall is assisting my sinking, assisting my dantian reaching down, but also assisting my thymus reaching up. So my elbows are dropped and my spine is vertical as we have it. So in other words, that sense of leaning back a little bit. If your spine is simply vertical, then the thymus won't be lifting enough. So we need a very subtle sense of leaning backwards. So your belly coming, swinging forwards to let the thymus have access to the heavens. You just hold it until you just can't hold it any longer, until you're shaking so much. And then push yourself up with the arms. Don't pull your body up. Use the arms. And then the other way. So now, this is particularly for the sacrum. So almost feel that your sacrum is glued to the wall and the legs can really loosen and relax. Pumping the ground with the feet to get a slight roll in the sacrum on the wall. Not letting yourself droop forwards. We have to keep the thymus connected to the heavens. And let's try again, one leaning forwards. Knees drop. Push yourself back. And now, one more. when we practice this in my classes, we do it with the other person. So we're leaning back to back, sacrum to sacrum. And it's really strong. And then the other way, we're leaning into each other's hands. Squatting down. When I'm this close to the ground, something in me just calms down. Calm and clear. Jing Jing. My body needs to be relaxed. My mind is calm and clear. Ching Jing. And then I can focus on the spirit. I can sense the spirit and work with the spirit. I think that's what they mean when they say in meditation, if you find the mind wandering, just come back to the breath. It's the breath in the sense of spirit. Spiritus is just Latin for breath. Spiro in Latin means I breathe. Spiro ergo ego sum. And so breathing in, just feeling the spirit opening and lifting, and then breathing out, it just sinks back down again. And I breathe in and it lifts. And I breathe out and it sinks. Psyche is the little butterfly that flits, it lifts off the flower and then it sinks back down onto it. So the quality of the mind that allows spirit to manifest. So the mind has to be calm and clear, but it also needs almost like a sense of expectancy. It's what I call imagination. So something just wants to spark. You know, John, remember he said, I can only teach poets. So for me, that's not a person that writes poetry, it's a person that appreciates poetry. It's basically someone with an imagination. And he also said once, I can only teach Celts.
You think that sort of Celtic, really, every aspect of a Celt's life was creative and just teeming with that swirling intelligence that doesn't come from a rational mind. It just comes from an imaginal reality. Okay. Let's just finish with just a bit of the breathing, but breathing with the spirit. So I just brighten, I lighten, something comes up. And then I get a little bit sad and it drops back down again. So the difficult thing to catch is the quality of mind that encourages spirit. The mind has to be calm and clear. But you need the imagination, you need to sort of see it. You just feel it sort of wanting to express in the eyes. This is exactly what you would do if you were greeting someone. Like in the north of England, when you pass someone in the street, it would be considered very rude not to meet their glance and smile. So you just look them in the face and just offer your heart momentarily with a smile or a lift of the eyebrows. Just this burst of cheerfulness. And that's just spirit. And you can't sustain it for very long. So it has to subside, it has to come back down, but then it can burst out again. I was driving to Tel Aviv once, and there's like a busy roundabout. And I'd got onto the roundabout, and there's, of course, there's a queue of cars wanting to come onto the roundabout just ahead of me. And so I just slowed down to let at least one person through, otherwise everything just grinds to a halt. And of course, he wasn't looking, he was on his phone. So my car stopped. It was only really when someone behind me beeped that he actually looked up and saw what was happening. And then his face just broke into this surprised smile as he acknowledged what I was doing, but then instantly pulled himself together, hands on the wheel, and just zoomed. Yeah. For me, life is all about those bursts of spirit, those bursts of connection. But people don't like it. They want everything under their control. They don't want anything to take them by surprise. They don't want anything to make an unreasonable demand of them, heaven forbid. That was what was lovely about the Chinese. As soon as you just looked at them, their faces would just open up and smile. Even the young men. It's the same in Ireland. But the first time I was in Ireland, I was walking down the street with Deborah, and I said to her, "Why is everyone staring?" There's these young men that looking really aggressive stare at me. And I was trying to keep my gaze averted. She said, "So they can see if they recognize you, so they can stop for a chat." Something escapes, and then I dip back down to get something else to give away. And just see how easy it is for something like this just to become a technical exercise and then completely lose all content, become like the opposite of what it's meant to be. So here's just a burst. Yo. As soon as it becomes mechanical and repetitive in the wrong way, then my mind is tempted to wander, and then it's doing more harm than good. Back to the gravity. The water's dripping off me. It's raining, so this jacket's really heavy. It's heavy anyway because I've been sweating into it. So it's dragging down to the ground. But the sense that I'm also steaming. What's great about China is so humid and it's 38 degrees every day. So it didn't take long before you're wet through. It's only 32 here. And just a little bit of this one. So here I can really feel that equilibrating ecosystem of movements, energies, feelings, emotions. I'm like a melting pot. If I try and control it too much, then I'll destroy the diversity. My job is to help it equilibrate. Spirit will keep each one of these alive. And I'm just sort of scanning it naturally to make sure that one doesn't become too dominant. And it's like you just sort of keep on going until something comes out of the mix that you'd never noticed before. And then letting it subside, but this figure of 8 inside each foot all the time. So this movement between the feet it's really just the 2 figures of 8s. So you've got these figures of 8s in the feet. Feel like you've got these 2 figures of 8s going on in your occiput. I mean, it's obvious in the hands and the fingers, but it's like there's something going on here, which will sort of express in movement in the jaw.